Asher and Pipeman on W4CY Radio.
This is the Pipeman here on the Adventures Pipeman W4CY Radio, and I'm here with
Tommy Fajaka with 1 Million Strong.
Nice. Here at Bourbon and Beyond.
That's right.
So go ahead, tell us.
It is hot.
It's so brutally hot that something happened to me in the last interview that's never happened to me in 15 years, 10 to 20 festivals a year. My recorder turned off from overheating in the middle of an interview.
Oh, boy.
Like, that's hot. That's never happened before. So we got to keep it protected now. I live in Florida. How is it so brutal in Kentucky? That's what I want to know.
That's right. Yeah. But you know what? It's a great time here at Bourbon and Beyond, and this is now day 2 of what's set to be a really great weekend.
Totally. And so tell the listeners who have never heard of you what your organization is and what your mission is.
Yeah. So 1 Million Strong is really a movement, and it's cutting across fans and artists and the music industry, and really aiming to show that when it comes to our mental well-being, one of the best things that we can seek out is human connection.
Totally.
And so what we're doing here, actually both at Bourbon and Beyond and then Louder Than Life the following weekend, is setting up a really intentional space. It's our 1 Million Strong wellness experience on site, a beautiful tent, where fans can come in and really just take a moment, catch their breath, but more importantly, find a sense of belonging and community, because we recognize that even in a crowd, it can sometimes feel lonely. We want to demonstrate mental health is really more accessible as a conversation than I think it's sometimes made out to be.
Totally. And you made a good point there that made me think, because I'm one of those people, so I do what I do, so obviously I have a switch on of extrovert. But then there's sometimes I like being a loner too, like because you do stuff like this, you want to just shut down. So I go to festivals like this, and when I'm done working, I'm out there in the crowd, I have two feelings. I'm here with my 100,000 closest friends hanging out, and I'm all alone at the same time.
That's right.
You hit a note when you said that, because there are times that I've been at a festival, like 100,000 people, and felt lonely.
You know what? So we think about this a lot. When it comes to mental well-being, it might seem maybe like a heavy topic to think about at a music festival. But to your point and what I just said, it's easy to feel alone, right? This is an amazing party and an amazing experience. It is transformative for anyone to be at this kind of event. And this is the power of music, sports, and entertainment. But at the end of the day, when that's all over, you know, there can be this feeling of like, what's next and how do I live my life now, right? And so our goal really is to show that when it comes to mental well-being, this is accessible.
Yeah.
I mean, this is something you can build anywhere. And so whether you step inside of our tent or whether you never see us and you're just out there on the fairgrounds, part of this is just how do you show up with other people around you and sharing this amazing experience together and really be present.
Absolutely. And I've always said music's the best therapy, okay? And I've also said, to your point of the togetherness, with all the craziness in the world, which is causing a lot of mental illness, I think the solution is we should have one major music festival for the whole world, and they're all required to attend. Because when at a Danny Wimmer festival do you see people on different sides fighting with each other, attacking with each other? You don't. We're one big family, and that's the way we could solve our world problems. That's my idea.
Music, sports, and entertainment are great uniters, and you said it well. And just to hit on this point, you're right. As a society, and particularly with the younger demographic, Gen Z, there's a really big sense of disconnect and isolation. We've seen this in our on-site activations, and then the studies report this as well. Gen Z is self-reporting that they're one of the loneliest generations. And yet, it's a generation that also says they crave human connection.
Yeah.
You know, it's interesting. This experience that we've created here, it's an alcohol-free space. People can come in and they can play all kinds of community games, take a photo in a photo booth. We've got temporary tattoos, a community wall where people can share just words of encouragement for one another. But the whole experience is really meant to demonstrate that earlier point we were just talking about. Whether you're here and maybe you're not feeling too well, right? Maybe you're actually having a really hard time in the middle of a festival, or perhaps you're not, but you get that kind of feeling of like, man, I'm in a crowd, but also alone. We want this space to be an intentional place where you can come in and say, you know what, let me actually find that sense of connection. And so everything that we're doing in music, sports, and entertainment with 1 Million Strong is really aimed at that point. How do we just show, not tell people that when it comes to mental well-being, really human connection is one of the best things you can do?
No doubt. And I love what you said about substance-free, because people tend to think that makes their mental health better, or they're using it to medicate their mental health, and it makes it worse. Like, especially alcohol is a depressant. And I think even the connection makes it worse. I think you become disconnected. You think you're connected because of that false courage or whatever, but in all actuality, you're really not.
Yeah, some of the folks who are here now we've been at Bourbon and Beyond, just to zoom out, we've been here 4 years in a row. This is our 4th year. And in the years past, we had more of an emphasis on substance use and recovery. But when you actually peel back the onion there, what you see is that at the root of that, or at the root of any kind of mental well-being challenges, is that feeling of isolation, is that feeling of disconnect. And so for us, we thought, how do we grow this? How do we expand this so that more people can feel welcome in this kind of space? We keep it substance-free in honor of those who obviously are in recovery. But at the same time, we want to make sure that we're addressing what's probably more of a root cause, right? And sort of tapping into something that I think is more universal, which is that idea of finding belonging.
Yeah.
And look, life happens to all of us. There are all kinds of challenges people deal with. We can't predict what those are, and every person is extremely unique. But I think one of the most important takeaways that we believe at 1 Million Strong is that rather than shy away from those challenges or disconnect yourself from the world, to your point of sometimes there is a place where it might just feel good to go off by yourself. But rather than do that, how much better might it be if you say, let's actually go through these hard times together?
Yeah.
And I've had those moments where I feel like it's probably just going to be better to be alone right now, but every time that I've made the opposite choice to actually go be with someone else, I found that they've improved my mindset.
Well, I think part of that, too, is it takes your mind off of it. When you're in solitude, you just focus on it.
Yeah, right. What are you doing? You're living life. You're figuring out how do you find new adventures? How do you actually build meaningful relationships with people? And over time, what you find is in doing that, you're thinking less about yourself. Now, your own personal needs, those are foundational, right? You need to have those met. But at the end of the day, when it comes down to mental well-being, being of service to others, and being able to contribute to the lives of others is one of the best things that we can do. So yeah, get out there in the world, right? Go be with people and figure out what kind of cool things you might spin up together.
I think also to add to that, when you're connected to other people, first of all, you can find out why they feel the way they do instead of attacking them for feeling the way they do. And you could find out why you feel the way you do because you'll find people that feel the same way as you.
Yeah, I think you're hitting on a really important point. When you actually lead with empathy and you lead with understanding and you want to get to know somebody a little bit better, what you find is you stop seeing people as broken. And this, I think, is one of the challenges with the mental health debate. It's become such a heavy topic, right, where every alternative, I mean, if you ask people, like, how do you think about mental health, you'll often hear clinical approaches, things like therapy, right? And by the way, there's a place for all of that. But what gets lost in the process is seeing people as not broken, but actually inherently strong, and then recognizing that we all go through hard times. What we just need is one another. That's the fundamental building block from which everything else after, right? Let's build on that. But it's got to start with that human connection piece.
And I'll even give a perfect example of something with me is like 2 years ago, later in life, I get a phone call, middle of the night, in the middle of the festival. My best bro since like 13 passed away.
Oh my gosh.
And I had to leave the festival to go to a funeral, but I came back to the festival for one reason and one reason only, because that would help me through it. And like coming back was the best thing I could do, because instead of sitting around feeling miserable, I was amongst all my friends, amongst music, and an environment that made me, just for a little while, escape.
Yeah.
And connect.
So life happens, right? And thank you for sharing that. Here's my takeaway from what I hear you saying. There are plenty of people who might choose to bury themselves in all kinds in their work at home. but you choose to come back and be among people, and there's some life-giving energy that you get from that. Now, I don't know if you had shared with others what you had gone through at that moment. I don't know, right, how much of that you were open with others and allowed them to help you through that process. But sometimes you don't even have to.
Right.
Right? Sometimes just being in the presence of other people and letting some of their energy and moods lift you up and see the optimism in life and recognize that there is a future gets you through some of the darkest times. And so, man, thanks for sharing that. That's great.
Yeah, and it's exactly what you said, and I'll even add to it is escaping your own head in a healthy way.
Yeah.
I stress healthy way because there's plenty of unhealthy ways.
Yeah. I mean, if we're actually going to build a sense of resilience, and I think we need to when it comes to mental health, then we can't disassociate or hide from the hard times.
Yeah, no doubt. Because it's going to crop up at some point later.
Yeah.
The sooner you face it head on, the sooner you could get through it.
Yeah. Now, here are you and I talking about this, right? And imagine if the whole world starts having this kind of dialogue. So, in part, what 1 Million Strong is doing is destigmatizing it, the conversation, yes, and a whole lot of other groups that probably are as well, right? I think mental health, thankfully, has become more of a common topic these days in society. But there's a layer that's missing, and it's this layer. It's how do we shift the conversation to focus more on our relationship with one another, on the fact that our human connection is a fundamental building block, and we can do that anywhere, no matter where we are. We don't need a clinical setting to start that process. And that when we do that, we're actually building resilience to our mental health. The hard things that are painful to go through actually make us stronger. That's what this is all about.
And I want to get your viewpoint on this. I have my own viewpoint, but there's a big thing out there that is very popular now, especially because of social media, to block people that are like, you're going through something really bad and just block all the people in your life that are not contributing in a healthy way. And to me, I think that holds to what you're saying is like, then you're just avoiding opposed to actually getting healthy.
That's right. I can't stress this enough. I think it's really important to engage in conversation with people. I don't know that you can just close yourself off to every problematic thing. We live in the world.
Right. You're going to have to deal with stuff that's happening.
And you can't hide from it, right? And back to that point about resilience, isn't this a skill, strength that all of us should cultivate, all of us should build? Because it doesn't matter what you read today. It doesn't matter what your friend or some random person said to you today. You're going to run into a variation of that tomorrow.
Yes.
And if you can't figure out how to build that resilience to navigate that difficulty, you're not actually improving any of your mental well-being.
Agreed.
You're just coveting something that's too sensitive, that needs, it benefits from strength, right? And then through that, I think you find that, you were talking about this earlier, the shared humanity with people. So we might disagree on something. That's okay. I'm not going to hide from that. Let's find the shared humanity in one another. That's what that human connection piece is all about.
No doubt. And we see that in the world over the past several years. People aren't getting better, they're getting worse, but they think what they're doing is healthier.
That's right. I would almost actually draw an analogy to this idea of when people say, I'm just going to take a mental health day. Again, there's a time and place for it. But the challenge is, are we doing that to actually rest and get back to 100%, or are we hiding from something? Are we shutting out the stressors in our life instead of trying to navigate them?
Called number two.
Yeah.
And that goes along with the example I gave before. It's the same thing. You still have to deal with your issues and your problems and the problems of the world. It's not the things you can control, but what you can control is how you cope with those things.
Yeah. And you know what? Everybody's going through something. How many times have you or I woken up thinking, man, I've got these problems that no one else is dealing with? That's just not true. Everyone's dealing with them. And so I think the sooner that actually on an individual layer we all recognize that, we see ourselves not as broken. And I think that's a really important starting point, right?
Yeah.
That sort of self-respect to recognize, hey, there's not a brokenness to me. I have some really unique strengths. And then it's that base that lets you grow and build that resilience. Man, that's one of the most powerful things we can do for our mental well-being.
No doubt. And again, going to music festivals like Bourbon and Beyond, okay, first of all, there's so many resources for mental health here. Not just the vendors, but just the people But then there's another side of it. You look at artists, I get it too, because I go and travel the world doing music festivals. And people always look at my social media and like, oh, you're living the dream life. And they don't say it in an encouraging way. They say it in a, I'm in a dark place and I'm jealous of you way. But they don't see the other side, because it's not all dream and rainbows and sunshine. And we still have the same problems they do, and maybe worse and maybe less. But we all, no matter what level in the world we're at or what we do, we all have certain mental issues.
Yeah. I'll take you back to when 1 Million Strong first started 4 years ago. We began working with the team here at Danny Wimmer Presents that puts on this incredible festival, and Louder Than Life and so many others around the country. And at the time, much like many other festivals around the country, the way in which people treated mental health or recovery is almost waiting till that point of crisis.
Yes.
And so one of the things that the Danny Wimmer team and our team were able to do, and really credit to Danny Wimmer here, is we asked what happens if we flip that script? What happens if we start thinking about this more proactively? And don't wait until a crisis. Don't wait to see a moment when someone's really hurting, but actually try to figure out how to address it at the front end when we can do something about it, when we can emphasize that strength piece, the human connection piece, more than, hey, how do we cauterize the problem, the bleeding, so to speak, right? And so 4 years ago, we launched that 1 Million Strong space. The turnout has been incredible every single year. The fan feedback, really exciting. And then we've done this across music festivals around the country, and we've partnered with artists as well. And so last year, Nico Moon, he's a really phenomenal Nashville artist, was performing here on the main stage, and right after his set stopped by the 1 Million Strong tent and spent, I don't know, probably well over an hour just meeting and greeting fans. And what's powerful about Nico, because you find these kinds of glimmers in the music industry, is people who are really passionate about driving home this message of how important finding your sense of belonging and your sense of purpose and just meaning in your life is. And Nico's been a great partner, but he's so emblematic of what we're trying to do at 1 Million Strong, because you're right, this is an issue that disproportionately impacts the music industry, but that is exactly why the music industry is actually well positioned to go solve it better than anyone else.
I love it. How do people reach out to you when you're not at festivals to join your community?
They can go visit us online, 1millionstrong.com. They can check out our social media pages. And then more important than anything else, because what we're all about is how do we get people to think differently about this conversation? The takeaway here would be people are going to be back in their homes, at barbecues, among friends, at their workplaces. And when they come to think about mental well-being, what I really want for your listeners to hear is think about how to build that anywhere. Think about how you can do that by starting just a conversation or engaging in a difficult conversation and not shying away from the hard things in life, and find a way how to build that sense of community with those who are around you, no matter where you are. That's one of the best things you can do. For those who are at the festival, we're by the Fork and Flask stage here this weekend and next, and folks can come by, purchase mocktails, hang with other people, get some photos in our photo booth, or contribute to the community wall. Like I said, we got some temporary tattoos as well with messages of resilience on there. These are just fun things to get involved, but sometimes we start with that fun because it carries a deeper message.
Yeah.
And we want people to take that deeper message home.
And I'm glad you brought up the mocktails, because that was the thing I was going to close with, because I started the interview drinking one of your mocktails. That was freaking great.
So good.
Unbelievably. And so, yeah, if nothing else, you got to come check out their mocktails.
They're delicious, man. Yeah, I'm all for it.
There it is. Any final words you want to give the listeners that we haven't covered?
No, I think we've hit it all. Again, visit us online. Go learn more about 1 Million Strong, and more than anything, figure out how you can change this conversation in your own home and in your own community. What it comes down to is not what somebody else can do to fix this for us. It's what each of us can do to fix this for us.
I love it. Well, I love it. I love what you're doing, and I hope to see a lot more of you at the Danny Wimmer festivals as well. And thanks for being on the Adventures of Pipeman.
I appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening to the Adventures of Pipeman on W4CY Radio.